get this show going. Blah, 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 blah. So, welcome, welcome. Cool. All right, everybody. We're just getting in for the Twitchies to kind of get this show going. We're also going to kind of showcase something we're going to do in the future. So, kind of get it off screen and kind of highlight that. So, all right. Let's make sure Twitch doesn't completely hit me. Here we go. We're live, everybody. Let's get it going, everybody. I think we're going to have some fun. We got some cool stuff. Ooh, we got some cool photography people are putting in here. Ooh, I love it. So, just checking the Discord server really quick. Cool, but yeah, welcome everybody. Again, I'm just gonna kind of hang out. We're supposed to go. I usually like starting around 5:30, so yeah, just letting the Discord server know. We're gonna put in some of the self promo chats. So those of you who want to kind of tune in, we got something cool today. Kind of center it a little bit more. There we go. There we go. So I'm just putting it on the interwebs, everybody, that we're gonna get going. So give it like 4-ish minutes, friends, and then we're gonna kind of get going. So where are the channels that I'm looking for? Where are you? Here we go. Give me a minute. But yeah, welcome everybody. Alright. So we're just putting it out there in some of the self-promo channels. So it's always fun. Just kind of put it out there, folks. But we're going to have, I think, a really good time with this particular build. And I also want to kind of shout out a build that we're going to be doing for someone. It's kind of a special scenario in terms of how we're going to do that build. So let me just put it out on some of the channels on Discord, folks, and then we'll get going. So I hope everyone's had a great day, folks. It's always a fun time, and yeah, we always have a good time. So. Yeah, but this is a cool board. I really love these boards in this build series. And I have some crazy keep stuff that's kind of been happening. Kind of give you guys some updates in terms of what's kind of going on. Chill people. Give me a second. Is there a self-promo in this one? No. Let's go to the McKeys one. There we go. So, yeah. Just going into Twitch really quick. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of chillax for a couple of minutes. I just want to see what's going on. But yeah. So everybody, I hope everyone is doing well. I'm just checking all my Twitch settings and everything. I think we should be good. Which I think is overall a good time. All my overlay, everything's looking good. So I hope everyone's been doing well. There's been a lot of movement within the hobby and stuff with my personal collection. That's just been really interesting. So this is definitely going to be a stream where we're going to be building this. We're also going to be kind of talking about just kind of how I've kind of been growing in the hobby and certain things that's been kind of happening behind the scenes, especially with like my personal collection. So one thing that's been happening is I've been kind of reassessing and reevaluating my personal collection. There's been a lot of interesting kind of notes with it. So my collection's kind of grown and grown and grown, and I've kind of gotten to the point where, especially if I kind of made a name for myself in terms of the world of Alps and like the vintage side of the hobby, I've definitely been kind of reassessing what are my priorities in terms of the boards that I keep in my personal collection. I like using my boards, and I have a pretty large number of keyboards within my personal collection. And I've been realizing I'm using the Alps boards, both my vintage and my modern like Alps boards. Like, for example, like my AO3 Polaris right here. Like, this is a modern metal, full metal 60%. Freaking love this thing. Like, my Geon F18X is built with Alps. Like, I'm using those boards more so. And again, I love my Cherry MX boards, but I've just kind of realized that a lot of my Cherry MX boards were glorified display pieces, and I kind of had them for like the wrong reason. Not that I didn't have them because I wanted to use them. I've had them because, oh, it's bragging rights. Oh, I'm one of the cool guys because I own this board. I'm like, they're not being used. And yes, they look pretty, but I definitely could use the funds from those boards and put them into other projects that I want to do. So recently we've been kind of offloading certain boards. So one of the boards, so there's a few boards we've offloaded over the past few days. I'd say within the past week. The Matrix Labs 100 NG, I got rid of that. And I also sold the Matrix Labs NOS 100 NG. I loved it. It was a super rare board, but I just wasn't using it. And I love it, and I'm thankful for how I got it. I just realized, like, hey, that's not really what I'm looking for. So we sold the 100 NG. The Matrix Labs NOS was kind of, I got rid of it because I hated it. Like, that was probably my most disappointing board that we did last year, and that I got last year, and it was just such a disappointment. Considering how expensive that board was, and no matter what I did to it, it sounded like crap, and it felt like crap. The mechanism, how it opened was cool, but like, I sold it. It funded a board. It funded the Molly. I also offloaded my Matrix Labs Jelly Evolve. Really cool, 70%, iconic, very historically significant board. Like, that board's the reason we put foam in keyboards. Like, Owl Labs pioneered that. Oh, man, Ill Intent, thanks, man. I wasn't expecting that. But that's like, so I got rid of the Jelly Evolve. I dropped that off at the post office today. It's going to a good home. Matrix Lab 100 NG went to a really good friend of mine. The Matrix Labs NOS went to a really awesome user. I also sold my F1 8X 722 just because it wasn't being built, it wasn't being used, and I'd rather get it to someone who's going to use it. And again, all this money is just going back to funding other projects within my collection. It's not like the money's going elsewhere. And then the board, I'll kind of showcase something special we're going to be doing soon. Has to do with this board. So I've been kind of looking at my personal collection. Sorry, I just want to check something really quick. So, and it's right here. So this is going to be, this is my DNWorks 02. So I got this board on group buy last year, and DNWorks is run by a guy named Darian. And it's his small design studio based out of Southern California. And he's a really cool dude. I love Darian. I have 2 of his boards. I picked up this one, and then I also got his full size, which is the 925. And I love my 925, and that's not going anywhere. But I've been kind of reassessing this board, and ever since I built it, I think I've used it like twice. And it's basically just sat on my keyboard wall, just looking pretty. It's a cool board. It's gorgeous. Like, the machining is awesome. The colors and the anodization is fantastic. And it's again, this board was built for GMK Darling. But my problem is I'm not using it. It sounds amazing, but I'm not using it. So I listed it on Mech Market today, and someone expressed interest, and we were kind of talking details. And they're going to pick up the board with the base. They're going to actually pick up the board. I was only going to sell the board, but I put in my listing, like, hey, if you want the GMK Darling set, like, if you're interested, like, we can also do that for like the cost I paid for it. And so this user, so we're going to be building this board probably in the next week and a half. The user wants it built with, since this is a solder board, the user actually wants me to build the second PCB that I have with this with a set of Gateron Type Rs that are actually lubed, which is really cool. So we're going to be, this board is going to be sold to that user, and I got permission from the person who's purchasing it to actually do this rebuild of it on stream. So that's going to be really cool. So it's kind of a win-win for me. I get to sell the board and, again, get some money to put back into other projects. And we get to make some content, some additional content out of this board. And then once we've made the content, we can send this board off to its new home. So again, huge shout out again to our person who I am doing business with, who's going to be purchasing this board. And also thank you for your grace in allowing me to be able to stream the build. Whenever I do a lot of client commissions, and sometimes when we do client commissions, I I like building them on stream, and I always ask if the client, are you okay with me building your board on Twitch? Hey, I'm not going to name you or do anything like that. It's just to kind of showcase the build and help educate people on how to build keyboards and to have fun with these things. So that's something that's going to be happening. And again, I'm not, most of my Cherry MX boards, like, I'm not getting rid of my whole Cherry MX collection. There are certain boards I'm never selling. Like, again, like my Kohaku, I don't want to sell that thing. My Mix 65, like my KVD Fens 8X Mark III, like my Piggy 60, or like my W70, or like my Matrix Navi, or my 917. Like, those boards aren't going anywhere, and I'm not converting those to Alps. Like, and some of those boards I can't even convert. So, like, my Cherry MX boards aren't going anywhere. And again, but I was just kind of reevaluating and looking at my collection, and their boards, while they are cool and I like owning them, they're not getting used. And I'm of the opinion, like, it's cool having a lot of keyboards, but I rotate through keyboards constantly, and I want to use these things. And they're tools. And again, they're fun. We love building them. We love talking about them, swapping switches, things like that, learning about them. But I want to build them, and I want to use them. And this is just, like, I've just offloaded boards that were basically not getting any use. And I could use the money from those boards to fund other keyboard projects going into the future, especially since now that we're monetized here on Twitch. That's something I'm just kind of really big on. So again, so in the next, I'd say like week and a half, depending on when the client sends their lubed Gateron Type Rs, then I'll work with the client to set up a time that we can stream, and then we'll build that board on stream for them, and then again, ship this board to its new home. So that's going to be really cool. So we're going to put the Darling off to the side because that's not the focus of the stream tonight. What we're going to be doing is actually doing a vintage Alps build. So those of you who may not know, again, sometimes people kind of pop in who may not be familiar with Alps. Alps are a vintage keyboard switch. This is a keyboard from a family of keyboards we call OmniKeys, and they were produced by a company called Northgate Computer Systems in the late 1980s and in the 1990s. And these keyboards are considered some of the best vintage Alps keyboards ever produced. They come with a very thick ABS plastic top case, and they come with a very thick gauge steel bottom case. These things are freaking tanks. So these things are friggin' awesome. I love these. So they're fantastic boards. My goal right now is to collect all of these. There are 10 of these Northgate OmniKey models that were produced. I have 7 on hand. I have 2 that I have tracked down and have communicated with the sellers to get those. And there's one other model that just kind of eludes me. I just got to be patient and watch eBay and Mech Market, and it'll eventually pop up. And the other aspect of this project is to build these OmniKeys with a different Alps switch type. There's about 15 or 20 things. Okay, so someone wants to try out. Okay, so cool. So ill intent. So one thing I would tell you, a cheap vintage keyboard would be. Let me put it in the chat. So you can put this into eBay, Dell. I'm gonna put in a couple models. Or Apple. So it's going to be a Dell AT101 or an Apple extended keyboard 2M. So, and that'll be model 3501. So I just put it in chat. So again, the 2 model, for Alps, they're fantastic switches. Look on eBay for like a Dell AT101W or an Apple extended keyboard 2. M3501. You can find both of those for about less than $50. I say between $30 and $40 for either of those is a really good price. They're really fun. You can they make fun restoration projects. They allow you to try Alps without putting a lot of skin in the game. For example, here Orange Alps are a little more expensive. Like I have one Alp. I'll pull out a keyboard right here. Some Alps are absurdly expensive. Like this keyboard right here is built with $600 worth of Alp switches. This board has amber clicky Alps. These are about $5 to $6 a switch. So we're talking to $600 to $700 worth of switches in this board. So I'm not telling you to spend that kind of money because you realize you hate Alps, then you're down a lot of money. So like a Dell AT101W or an Apple extended keyboard 2 are going to be your best kind of budget options. They're great vintage boards. You can get a PS2 to USB converter for those boards on like Amazon for like $5, and the interface with modern computers without issue. So those are really great boards. And again, all you really got to do if you don't want to get like really intensive in cleaning, just remove the keycaps, dust them off, and put the keycaps back on, you usually should be good to go. Those are really good. I have a Dell AT101. I actually have a black one. Give me a second. Let me grab it. Where'd that go? So, yeah. So, I have a Dell AT101 right here. So, this is my Dell AT101. It's actually one of the black models. It needs to be restored. These came in beige and black. Black's a little less common, so you'll probably pay between $80 and $100 if you want a black one. But these are really cool. Those are really cool boards. I have my Apple extended keyboard 2s are in the restoration process. There are 3 versions of them, so this is one of them. This is what the kind of Alps assemblies look like while they're unbuilt. So this is we will be building those on stream in the next few weeks. So that's going to be really cool. But yeah, it's been really cool. We had but this is a personal build. This is part of my personal collection. So we're going to get into it now. Alps are a lesson in patience. There's probably a dozen hours in this board already. I've done a ton of stuff off camera, and we've fully restored the switches. These switches actually came from Apple Extended Keyboard 1. You can open up the switches. So here's the cool thing about Alps switches that are really freaking awesome. So you can actually work on these switches while they are soldered in. So here's a board, one of my personal builds that I've been working on. So I was actually re-lubing these switches. So what's cool about Alps is you can actually work on the switches while they are soldered in. So the bottom of these switches, like these are the switch contact plates. These switches are fully soldered in, but what's really cool about the switches is you can open them and remove the top housing, the spring, your contact and click leaf, and your slider, while the switches are fully soldered in. So that's a really, really cool thing. So yeah, Alps, the one thing about them, if you look up here, they have a very open design because of the slider. And so they're very prone and susceptible to dust and getting gunked up. So Alps are really easy to clean up. There's a great YouTube channel called Shirosan22. He's kind of the go-to guy when it comes to Alps content on YouTube. And he's posted every video. He's covered every single Alps keyboard imaginable. He has tutorials and things like that. And he also has a whole education series where he educates people on Alps, how to work on them, and things like that. And that's kind of where I learned a lot of my stuff. And Alps are just really cool. They're a fantastic switch type, but they haven't been made in 25 years. So Alps were produced by Alps Electric in Japan from the late 1970s to the early 2000s. So these switches were in production for a really long time, but in the early 2000s, Alps Electric discontinued their keyboard division because things had shifted in the market. Mechanical keyboards were too expensive. Most of these keyboards were going into like government contracts, like schools, government buildings, businesses. So people wanted cheap keyboards, and also these things were too loud for people. So people's kind of sensibilities to mechanical keyboards had changed. Like in the 80s, most people grew up on typewriters. So people were used to a very loud workplace when it came to personal computers. But by the time we get to the late 90s, early 2000s, people want cheap keyboards, and they also want keyboards that are relatively silent. And that's where we see kind of the rise of rubber dome membrane keyboards, which still kind of dominate your general user base of keyboard users. So So if you want Alps, you're going to have to get them from old vintage keyboards, which is going to be interesting. So I'm just taking off this top case. Everything on this board has been restored pretty much. We just got to solder in the switches, lube, and then lube the actual, lube the stabilizers, and then put the keycaps on. That's still going to take a while. Alps, they are a metric truckload of work. That's what I just tell people. So another thing about these OmniKeys, they are bottom mounted for the most part. There's a couple of them that are top mounted. Which is pretty interesting. But yeah, and again, I also do like vintage Alps restorations for people. I've actually done some really cool Alps restorations for peeps in different parts of the world. So I've done builds for people over in Europe. I've done Japan, Singapore. I've done one for someone in Russia, which is really cool. I actually recently just did a build for someone in Israel, which is really awesome. So that was a really cool experience. So yeah, it's been, and we also had someone in Taiwan we did some work for. So it's been a really kind of cool experience working with just like people who reach out, who kind of see what I do online. And Alps are a lot of work, and I think that's why Alps are kind of a niche within a niche. And not a lot of people have gotten into Alps because, again, they're just a lot of work. Whether it's people may not be comfortable with soldering, or have that knowledge or have the equipment, or some people just may be in a situation where they can't do it. Oh yeah, dude, Black Simon's great. I mean, Black Simon is the angry man of the keyboard hobby. Yeah, there's a board coming up. So there's a board coming out from the guys at Sensi Studio. So Sensi Studio, they're the guys who did the Seal full-size keyboard last year. So, and the cool thing about the Sensi guys, they're based in China and they're massive vintage keyboard enthusiasts. I'm actually friends with the Sensi guys. And they're awesome dudes. Like, if you ever can get your hands on like a Sensi board, they used to be with Vertex, but Vertex has been kind of dealing with some internal issues, and Vertex, some of their team is actually leaving, unfortunately. But Sensi's kind of going independent for their upcoming projects, and they're really cool. And their upcoming project's called the Seal 80, and it's going to be compatible with everything. Yeah, I'm just... So, yeah, oh yeah, what's up, Blue Cubes? Yeah, so, yeah, the Apple Extended Keyboard is awesome. And the Apple Extended Keyboard came with different types of Alps switches. There are different versions and variants of Alps switches. So the Apple Extended Keyboard, you're most likely going to find what we call ivory switches. So they're a tactile switch, and they have these little rubber dampeners, so we sometimes call them a dampened tactile. It was kind of Alps' attempt to make a quieter keyboard. They're not quiet. Alps are very loud. The thing with Alps, they're loud, and they're old school clack. So just think of like an old school vintage keyboard that's very loud and clacky. Like this one right here I have. Let me unplug it so I don't make my computer mad. Like, that's Alps. Like, old school clack. And Alps are really prized for their clicky and also their tactile switches. Yeah, muffled. Yeah, they're muffled. Again, I'd say muffled, more subdued. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So all these switches also have been tested with my multimeter. We fired up the soldering iron. Let's get our solder wick out. And we're going to start soldering these switches. I did solder a couple of them in, just to kind of hold stuff in place. This is one of the Alps builds I've been really excited for to do, because like this is the 101 is kind of cool. I'm gonna pull up the top case because it's one of the OmniKeys have weird layouts, especially by modern standards. Like if I pull out like this one, like your F row is an F column. So this takes inspiration from the IBM Model F XT and Model F AT, where you didn't really have an F row, you had an F column. So that's where the OmniKeys kind of take a lot of inspiration, where they put the F row. Like everything else is pretty familiar. Of course, you have the big S enter, you have win keyless, but certain things are kind of quirky. Like your escape is here, so if you're used to 60%, that kind of makes sense. Oh, dude, I love the green PCBs. But also, tilde is right here. Your control is over here, which is kind of normal. Your alt is right here. Caps lock is right here. And then your controls up here. So there's some quirky things. Again, you have the split plus. Some people do like that. But this one's cool because, let me flip it over. It has a proper AT101 ANSI layout. So it's WinKey. So if I put this top on here really quick, you can kind of see how it's a pretty normal layout. Like it's win keyless. You have a 7U bottom row. You have an ANSI enter. Most OmniKeys use big ass enter. So this is the only OmniKey with an ANSI enter. And it has the full plus button above the enter on the numpad. So this one is really, really cool. So this is probably one of the more sought after of the Northgate OmniKeys. I got a really good deal on this. And there's a Northgate OmniKey on eBay right now for $120. And that is a great deal. So if you're interested in a Northgate OmniKey, go on eBay, look up Northgate OmniKey. It's $120. Speaking of eBay, it's been an expensive past couple of days. Since I've been liquidating some Cherry MX boards, we picked up a bunch of vintage stuff. I picked up an IBM Model M because I have to rebuild one of my IBM battleships and the keyboards are clapped on it. So I needed to get original keycaps from an old IBM Model M. So I got a clapped IBM Model M that was busted. So so that's going to be coming in. I picked up 2 boards worth of brownout. Actually, 3 boards worth of brownouts in the past 2 days. I bought 2 of them today. They were too good of a deal for me to pass up. So I said, screw it. We're buying that. Didn't expect to spend like $400-ish today on keyboards, vintage keyboards for brown Alps. For those of you who do not know, brown Alps are like $5 to $6 a switch. So when these 2 boards popped up and my vintage Discord server said like, yo, like these are brown Alps, good deal. I'm like, I bought them. I bought both of them. It was kind of tense negotiating with the guy who was selling them. But I picked up the boards, we got them. And I also picked up an old IBM 5140 laptop that also has brown. So I have a metric truckload of brown apps coming, and we're going to be doing some really cool projects and also restoring the boards. Those are coming in, which is going to be really cool. And I also got some stuff from a guy named Alec Tardy. He's a really cool dude, and we'll see the stuff I get from him in the next few weeks, and we're going to be real building these OmniKeys. There's a lot of really cool content and projects that we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. Like I said, I sold my DNWorks 02 to fund projects because I wasn't using this board, and we will be, the client who's getting it, the person who purchased this keyboard from me wants me to rebuild it with a special set of Gateron type bars that they've had lubed and filmed professionally. So they're going to send me those switches, and then sometime maybe in the next week and a half, we'll rebuild this board on stream. So it'll be nice. It's always refreshing when we get to do Cherry MX, and mostly we do vintage stuff on here. We'll do the occasional Cherry MX build. I mean, I do have a couple Cherry MX builds I got to rebuild. So we'll definitely be doing those. All right, that's enough blabbering and rambling on, everybody. Let's get to soldering this damn thing. There we go, friends. All right, let's get my solder vent. Also, if you do get into soldering, please get a solder vent or work outside. You don't want to be breathing this crap in. Take care of your lungs. Cancer is not good. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Oh, my God, that soldering is way too freaking hot. Let's turn that temperature down. Good Lord. All right, so I usually start off with the numpad, and then I just kind of work my way over on the board. So, again, we only have 101 switches. It's not like 120-something like the Northgate OmniKey Ultra. So that is really nice. So let's just get these ones in. So let's start soldering these puppies in. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through and we're gonna solder the switches. And those of you may be relatively new to soldering. Soldering is not that hard to learn. Just be patient, take your time, and again, just kind of get into a rhythm of soldering these puppies in. So. Give me a second. I think I heard something. No, we're good. Sorry, I thought I heard my dog or something. But yeah, it's a relatively easygoing process. So yeah, Blue Cubes. I've been really looking forward to getting this build together because since I got this board, I didn't rebuild it. So like when I initially got the board like a month and a half ago, I just tore it down, and it was been sitting in parts because I didn't know how I wanted to build this. I did my other Northgate OmniKey 101 that I do have on hand right now is my Northgate OmniKey 101N. So this board I did initially build with Pine White Alps, but part of the rebuild project, this one's gonna get built with Ivories. And this board, like when I did use this board with the Pine Whites, it's fantastic. So. Oh yeah, no, dude, the Seal 80 is awesome. Like I'm really excited for that project, and when they do the group buy, that's gonna be a board I'm definitely gonna be joining. The Sensi, I'm gonna be building my Seal full size probably in the next like say 3 or 4 weeks. I have such a backlog of projects, and I've had that board for like 4 months, and it's just been sitting looking pretty. But it will be getting built with Alps, because the cool thing is like the Seal full size. The solder PCB supports both Cherry MX and Alps, so that's really cool. They had both things because like the Seal 80, I plan on getting it for Space Invaders because I have enough modern Alps TKLs, and like a lot of the vintage Space Invader boards I don't really care for. So like being able to use like a Space Invaders build in a modern keyboard that way is like gonna be freaking sick. I'm so hyped for that. So yeah, we're really excited for that one. So, but yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Oh, let's clean off that soldering iron tip. That's not good. Yeah, we're good there. So we're just what I'm doing. If you notice what I'm doing, I'm only putting in one pin for each switch, because then I'm reflowing and pushing the pins down. Sometimes when you solder switches in, the switches aren't seated all the way. So you want no gap between the bottom of the switch and the PCB. That can sometimes affect sound. So what I do is I do one pin at a time, and then I reflow the switch solder on that one pin, and then I push the switch in and I push down on the PCB, creating no gap. It's pretty common on these really big boards where there's a lot of like flex in the PCB or the plate. So it just allows me to know that I have properly seated switches. There we go. So, yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, dude, I think the Space Invaders are really cool. I think it's a really cool switch. The only thing I know about Space Invaders I'm kind of nervous about is you have to get really pristine ones, because I know they they're like, I know Alps are very sensitive to getting dirty, but at least it's like Alps you can for the most part take them apart and clean them thoroughly. Whereas Space Invaders, from what I've heard, they're very, very fragile, especially the mechanism inside the Switch. So like I'm very nervous about taking them apart. So when I get ready to track down a Space Invaders board, I want to find one that's like, first off, I want a clicky board, and I want to find one that is as clean as possible. So I don't have to worry about like trying to like clean those switches, because I really don't want to have to deal with the cleaning Space Invaders. So yeah, but we've done a lot of work on this board overall. So when I got this board, I tore everything down. I removed the keycaps, removed the stabilizer parts, desoldered the switches, and then I soaked the keycaps, scrubbed the case, got all the dirt and grime off of those. And then what we also did is we scrubbed the PCB, cleaned up all the crap that was on that. And then we also refinished the plate. One thing about these OmniKeys, and just a lot of vintage keyboards, these things were used and abused, and the plates are very prone to rust. So that's the one negative thing about these particular keyboards, just vintage keyboards, is the plates are rust buckets, and you'll probably have to desolder them and then either put like rust remover, sand the plates down, and then like spray paint them or get them like professionally recoated. That's just the only unfortunate thing. So like pretty much every vintage keyboard I do, I have to fully desolder them, and I remove the plate, and then again I do a whole refinishing and spray painting process to get those plates looking nice and pretty again. So there we go, friends. Awesome. So we have our number pad on there. There we go, everybody. Look at that. All right, cool. Now we're gonna go over to our navigation. Nice. Yeah, Blue Cubes, if you find like a really clean, clicky, or like new old stock clicky Space Invaders build, please send it my way, and I'll definitely take a look at it, because I do want a board to like be the kind of host for my I can't do English right now. My Seal 80. Yeah, so just getting this puppy put together, so. But yeah, it's going to be a good time, everybody. So let me just push this back, because we want to get these ones. Awesome. Perfect. Let's keep it going. Let's go to... And I did test these switches, so we should be good, but if there's a faulty switch, we do have the desolder gun, and we'll take care of those, but it was pretty thorough. Nice, dude. Yeah, Space Invaders are cool. They really interest me, and the thing that's so weird about Space Invaders, I know with Alps, like, the different colors, even with Cherry Max, like, colors mean something. I've learned Space Invaders, to my knowledge, the color doesn't mean anything. So you could have a switch that's the same color, but it could be a clicky or a tactile or a linear, which I think is really hilarious to me. So yeah, this keyboard right here is in really clean condition. I got really lucky on this one. So yeah, good times. So yeah, it's gonna be good. Yeah, thanks, Blue Cubes. You are always the MVP, my man. And again, Blue Cubes, that Brown Alps score today was awesome. Like, it was kind of crazy. I was kind of tense because like I picked up the first one, I just bought it, and then everyone's in the Discord was telling me like, see what else he has. He may have some other cool stuff. And the guy had other stuff, so I sent like the pictures of the boards he had, and everyone said there is a second Brown Alps board in there. See if you can get it from him. And like we talked, and like I said, oh yeah, I'll sell it to you for like a little bit of a lower price. And then he like lists the board, and he doesn't tell me. And then people are telling me, yo, it's listed. And there was like a whole like tense negotiation through eBay chat trying to get that second Brown Alps board. And like thankfully we were able to get it. But yeah, that was very stressful. Trying to pick out that one. Dude, I'm stoked, dude. I mean, I'm pretty set on like all of my future projects. for brown Alps, pretty much. Like, I know we're doing one of the OmniKey Ultra T will be rebuilt again, but this time with brown Alps. And then the cream Alps are going in the 102 that we're going to be getting. So, like, it's going to be crazy. Like, having, like, one of the second biggest OmniKey having brown Alps. So I'm kind of cool, like, my two OmniKey Ultras, the OmniKey Ultra and the Ultra T. One Ultra has ambers, and then the Ultra T will have brown Alps, which is going to be sick. Dude, I've never had a seller like that. I mean, the guy in the end it worked out, but I've never had to be like a hard ass with an eBay seller like that. Which I'm not used to. Like, I'm used to people being relatively nice, but someone Vala basically said, like, you can't treat the eBay sellers like how you treat people on like Discord or like who are actually in the hobby. Like, most eBay sellers, they don't care. They just want to get their money. I'm like, cool. So I kind of know that for the future. Like, don't talk to them as if they're like a person who's in the hobby. Yeah, it's a fun time, man. So yeah, I'm excited to get this board put back together, because this is probably, next to the OmniKey Ultra, this is probably the one I'm most excited about, because I love orange Alps. Like, probably one of my favorite Alp switches, next to blues. And especially the tactiles. This is my favorite tactile Alp, orange Alps. So I love and adore this switch so much. So to have like one of my favorite of the tactile Alps in an OmniKey is going to be awesome. And I'm getting a bunch of PCBs from Blue Cubes. I'm getting a bunch of yeah, dude, brown Alps OmniKey is going to be sick. And again, I wanted to initially put it in like the 101P, and I realized, wait, I want to put it in the biggest board possible. So the Ultra is taken. The next biggest is the Ultra T. And here's a cool thing about it too, Blue Cubes. I'm getting another Ultra T in that's non-yellowed at all. There's no yellowing on it at all. So it's going to be really... So when we're done rebuilding the Ultra T, we're going to kind of use a combination of the parts of the one I have on hand and this clean one coming in to get like a super, super clean OmniKey Ultra T. Like, and I'm also watching the OmniKey Plus that's on eBay right now for like $80. Because that's also non-yellowed. My goal is to have non-yellowed OmniKeys, and I'm pretty close to doing that, because the 101P I'm getting is new old stock. The 102 is immaculate. And then whenever I track down a 101i, I want to see if I can get that non-yellowed. But pretty much all my OmniKeys will be non-yellowed, which will be awesome. What's up, Fade? So yeah, it's going to be super sick. So when this OmniKey project is completed, it's going to be amazing. And I definitely, honestly, for a lot of the local keyboard meetups, I'm probably just going to be taking out the OmniKeys. Because it showcases pretty much every type, all the Alps types that people really would want. And they're just badass boards that are gigantic. And honestly, who the hell else is going to have a Northgate OmniKey at keyboard meetups? Like, no one. So it's going to be unique and different. And I'll be able to finally showcase brown Alps. Because like when I've got the past few meets I've gone to, everyone asks for brown Alps. Like, where are the brown Alps? Where are the brown Alps? And like I said, I don't have them. So it'll be nice to finally have like some brown Alps keyboards to take out and to showcase, which will be really cool. And again, with the brown Alps that we're getting from the 5140 and those two Texas Instruments boards, we're going to be the Constance TKL will be getting brown Alps. So the Constance TKL, when I got a brown colorway, and I knew like and I found out I could build with Alps. I wanted to put brown Alps in it. So it'll be really nice to have like a vintage version with the OmniKey, but also have a modern metal keyboard with brown Alps. Because we did do when we were promoting the ETAR 87, we built the ETAR 87 with brown Alps just to kind of showcase that. But only about half of those brown Alps were mine. I didn't have enough to build it, so that's why I reached out to Carolus, and I worked out a deal with Carolus to get some brown Alps from him on loan to use in that project, which is really cool. So, yeah, Carolus always being the friggin' MVP. So, all right, we're going to do our F row. Kind of work our way around. But yeah, it's been a really fun journey, for sure. So yeah, we got some cool stuff. We got a board I'm selling. We're going to be rebuilding it for the person that got it, which is going to be really cool. Oh, dude, I honestly am probably going to invest, once I have all 10 OmniKeys, I want to invest in like a Pelican case and like a foam setup to have like a proper case to like lug them around. Because I really don't have cases for the OmniKeys for like safe travel. And considering that they're going to all my OmniKeys are going to be very, very valuable, considering how that they're fully restored and they have, each of them has a different set of restored switches, like they're going to be very expensive too. Especially like the Amber and Brown Alps builds alone will probably be like $1,500 worth of keyboards. Like that's crazy. Yeah, definitely gonna once I have, I'm definitely gonna start looking into like a big like some kind of Pelican case. Well, here's the thing about the ETAR. The ETAR I have is on loan. So I'm going to be mailing that back to the Bloody Easy. I've had it on hand for a while just to do testing and try it out. I'm going to be mailing that back to the Bloody Easy probably in the next couple of weeks. The ETAR that I'm getting is going to be the brown unit that Alex Otis built on stream. So I told the Bloody Easy and Alex Otis, so like I'm not in a rush to get it. So I'll get that board whenever I get it. I mean, I've had a unit on hand. Yeah, no, I got it on loan, and that's one of the things I do with reviews. I'm very transparent when someone asks I got to review 3 boards last year, and I'm very fortunate. I got to do the Baron Boards BP1, I got to do the ETAR 87, and then I got to do the Keybay Tech Secret 65. I make it very clear to creators, I only really want to promote and review boards that I would like buy with my own money. And that's a thing I'm really big on. So when I make it very clear, like, I don't want to take your board for free. Like, if you're willing to let me have the board, cool. But I'm not going to start my pitch on why you should let me review your board with, oh, I want free shit, or I want a free unit. Like, I'm going to say, like, hey, I believe in your project. I'm considering joining it myself, or I would join it myself with my own money. And if again everything hits off and they're cool with it, like they'll send me a unit, and I always make it very clear up front that it's not part of my agreement to keep the prototype. If they want me to keep it, like Keybay Tech let me keep the Secret 65, which was really gracious of them. I didn't start my pitch with them like, oh, I want to keep it. Like, I'm very clear of that, because also, too, especially from, like, these smaller designers, prototypes are expensive. Like, a prototype can be, like, $1,500, $2,000. And if you're a single person trying to run a group buy, like, that's a lot of money. So, I understand. So, I make it very clear I don't want to keep your prototypes, because I understand the nature of the business and how expensive they can be. So, that's just kind of my thing with, like, doing review units. Yeah, and since considering I've been downsizing my Cherry MX collection, going forward, literally the only modern keyboard, like, going forward, there's one Cherry MX board coming on drop this year, on group buy this year, that I'm going to get for Cherry MX, which is going to be the Keybay Tech W70. I love Keybay Tech. Chester's a friend. I have all 3 of his boards that he's run so far, and they're amazing. I want to do the W70 because it's themed after one of my all-time favorite cars, the Mazda RX-7 from Initial D. And that's going to be sick. But other than that, there's a few other modern boards coming in group buy this year I'm interested in getting. But I'm getting them to build them with Alps. So if I can't build a board with Alps or convert it to Alps on my own through making my own custom parts, I'm not getting it. So, like, I'm really not, going forward, I'm not really trying to do, at least for my personal collection, acquire new Cherry MX boards. Like, if I'm going to get a new modern board, I'm going to do it for the express thing of converting it to, like, Topra or Alps. Because I'm way more into Alps, I'm way more into Topra. And we're going to be doing some cool Topra stuff, too, in the future. I have a client who I'm going to be doing some Topra builds for. So we'll be doing some Topra content, and I also have... JJW's awesome studio. I haven't worked with their guys personally, but I've typed on their boards and Meet, and I built a couple of their boards for friends and family. Awesome board. So, I mean, ill intent. Like, if you want me to do it, I'd be happy to do it, my man. Again, just shoot me a DM on Discord. Again, we can kind of hammer out details. I'd be happy to build a board for you. And stuff. So, like, again, I love building board. Like, I love doing stuff like this, like my personal collection. But, like, being able to do builds for other people is, again, an honor and a privilege. Again, I've had the privilege of doing Alps builds and MX builds and soon to be Topra builds for people in different parts of the world. So I love doing it. And I get, like, Cherry MX I think is fine, but, like, especially when you're getting to Alps and, like, Topra, I know there's a big learning curve on getting into that world. And I know some people might not be the most comfortable, so, like, that's why I'm doing, like, this client who reached out for, like, to have me do some Topra stuff. I'm really excited to be able to do those builds for that person. So it'll be just nice to be able to kind of help, just kind of open them up to some other, a new side of the hobby. Because, like, again, once you get into, like, Topra and, like, other high-end stuff, it just gets really cool. And also very expensive. Like, if you think, like, Cherry MX is expensive, like, high-end Alps in, like, custom Topra are, like, absurdly expensive. Like, you're talking, like, they're in, like, Topra, you have, like, especially when you get into, like, Norbauer stuff, like, a Seneca is, like, $4,000, which is crazy. And I've met Norbauer, and I've been working with Norbauer to do a collaboration for him, which would be really cool. So it's going to be a long-term project, probably over the next couple of years, that we're going to do. But we're definitely going to be doing an Alps build in one of Norbauer's cases, which would be really cool. And it's going to be actually for Norbauer himself, Ryan, who's the owner. So Norbauer is named after Ryan Norbauer, the owner. So definitely going to be doing a build for him in probably in the next, I say, year or so. The one thing about Ryan I learned with Norbauer, he's very patient. So he literally said it's going to take some time. Oh, dude, like, here's the thing with Norbauer. And again, I've met Ryan. I consider Ryan's a buddy of mine. I kind of see Norbauer has catered and found a niche of people within the keyboard hobby who are more luxury and more high end in terms of the type of money that they spend. And again, is that for everybody? Again, I'm someone who buys high-end keyboards. But am I spending $4,000 on a keyboard? No. So these people are into more high-end stuff than me. And I look at it this way. It's like, think about it like with cars. Like, there are certain car manufacturers, especially like supercar, luxury car manufacturers. Are they catered, like, example, like, is like McLaren or like Porsche, are they catering to your person who's going to buy a Toyota? No. Do I need to buy a Porsche or a McLaren? No, and I can't afford one, to be completely honest. And that's kind of how I see it with, like, high-end cars. And as someone I do enjoy cars. I mean, I love Formula One. Like, but again, like, high-end cars are like only for a small percentage of the population who have that type of big budget money to spend several $100,000 or millions of dollars on a car. And that's kind of how it is with like the Norbauer Seneca. There's only a very small number of people who can spend $4,000 on a single keyboard. And again, Norbauer caters to that market of people. And even his normal cases, like his cases that are upgrades to like just standard Topra keyboards, those are like $400, $500, $600 cases. So again, Norbauer stuff is not cheap. And I just tell people, like, Norbauer is not, he's also made it very clear, his intention has never been to the mass market within the hobby. He's always been more catering to that smaller niche boutique market of people. And again, all the props to him. He's had really great success. Like Adam Savage did a really cool piece on Ryan Norbauer. Like, if you haven't seen the Adam Savage video on Norbauer, it's really freaking cool. And it's really cool if you've never met Norbauer to kind of see his methodology and kind of where he comes from in terms of how he approaches stuff. Like, it's really, really cool. Ryan does some really cool work. And it's cool that he's based here in Los Angeles. So that's where I'm based. I'm based here in LA. So, yeah, so we got a good kind of perimeter. So now we're going to go around and do the rest of these switches, and then we'll do our main numbers and alphas, and then we'll be pretty done, which is good. I mean, this isn't one of the big, this is the smallest of the Northgate OmniKeys, which is really nice. So that is fantastic. So we're doing our F row now, or the rest of our F row. So yeah, that's cool. So like I said, I say like now since I offloaded like my Matrix Labs 100 NG, I say my lowest like. Oh yeah, no, like the big thing for the Seneca, part of what makes it so expensive is the stabilizers that they use. So it's a Topra keyboard, but Norbauer's big purpose for that project is the rattle and stabilizers. We lube our stabilizers to get rid of the rattle. And Norbauer wanted to figure out a mechanical method to make a keyboard stabilizer where you don't have to add any type of lubricant. Like, it's a smooth mechanism that actuates smoothly and has no rattle. And it took him 5 years of R&D and development to design the stabilizer in the Seneca. So that's part of why it's so freaking expensive. Because you look at the Adam Savage video, Norbauer probably spent the better part of $1 million in R&D on those stabilizers. It's kind of crazy. But like Norbauer really, again, he knew whenever the project was done, it was not going to be a cheap keyboard. That was never his intent. But it'd be really cool maybe one day if, like, I know Norbauer also got a patent on the stabilizers. So it would be really cool one day to kind of see. So it would be really cool to kind of see if those stabilizers maybe like they're manufactured through license through other makers, and that design trickles down into kind of the mass market within the stabilizer component of mechanical keyboards or just keyboards in general. I think right now Norbauer just wants to keep his stabilizers in the Seneca, but I would not be surprised in the future if maybe it is some type of licensing deal, since they do have a patent on the design. But yeah, it's a really cool project. And again, Norbauer stuff is not for everybody. And again, especially when you get into higher end stuff, the keyboard, people are going to say, oh, it's too expensive. Well, again, it's not made for you. Again, there's great stuff that is in like the $100 to like $300 price point, which is where the vast majority of people are in the hobby. But there's that small segment who are cool with spending $400 or $500+ on a keyboard, or even Norbauer Seneca money in the thousands on a keyboard. I mean, just like what people spend on Kohakus or Unicorns or original Janes. People spend several $1,000s on those keyboards. Like, especially if you go to like an original run Jane, like one of the 20 original Janes that exist, like every time one of those comes up for sale, you're talking $3,000-$4,000 for one of those things. Or if you go into like original South Korean custom stuff from like the mid 2010s, like before the hobby blew up, like OTD, you're talking $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for a keyboard. I wouldn't be surprised if China rips off Norbauer's stabilizer design. I mean, because China doesn't care about intellectual property or patents. So, to be completely honest, there's probably some guy in China trying to reverse engineer a Seneca. So yeah, don't be surprised. That's China. China's gonna China. And no offense to my friends who are Chinese, but that's just how it works over there. I mean, one cool piece of lore within the keyboard hobby actually has to deal with the Kohaku. And I own a Kohaku, and I have been liquidating some of my Cherry MX collection. My Kohaku's not going anywhere. That is one of my showpiece boards. I wanted to keep one show, like, a lot of the boards I've been getting rid of were like showpiece boards. Like, I hardly ever use them. They mainly are there to be display pieces. The one board I do like using, but it's more a display piece, is my Kohaku. That thing's not going anywhere, but here's a fun Kohaku story that deals with like China-ing. So the original manufacturer of the Kohaku was a guy named Kalam. And those of you who may not know the lore or story on this, if you go on Mech Market and you see like Kalam Kohaku or Kalam Unicorn or Kalam Jane, Kalam is a guy who owns a manufacturing factory in China. And he was one of the original manufacturers of like Singa stuff. So Elaine, who's the designer at Singa, Elaine doesn't own her factory. So she would contract out to a factory, and then she would, that factory would then send the stuff back to Elaine, where she could do her like QC on stuff. Because Elaine, part of why her boards are so expensive, she insists on QCing every single board herself. But then Elaine and this Kalam guy had a falling out. And Elaine moved to a different manufacturer. Here's what this Kalam guy did that makes him so reviled, is he had all the schematics and all the designs for Kohakus and all of Elaine's stuff up until that point, including the Unicorn. And he just said, well, screw it, I'm just going to keep making these things because they sell. So he still makes, from time to time, in the Chinese market, these like knockoff Kohakus and Unicorns. And it would be okay if he did, but what the really kind of dick part is, he puts all of Elaine's logos and design, like aesthetics, on the boards, and he also puts like he makes knockoff packaging and boxes, and basically tries to pass these things off as actual Singa products, and that's really, really shitty. Like, it'd be one thing if you're making knockoffs of Elaine's thing, and you're not putting like Elaine's Singa logo on it, like you're making it clear it's a knockoff. So that's why like buying like Singa stuff, like buying Kohakus, buying like unicorns is kind of hard in the aftermarket because you're paying a premium because people want those boards, but you also have to verify that's not one of these Kalam fakes because the fakes are like really, really good. So that's why like with China-ing, like it's like crap like that like pisses people off. Thankfully, not all the manufacturers are like that. Most manufacturers are pretty dope and pretty legit. So yeah, that's just kind of a thing with it. So, that was kind of one of the more interesting, unfortunate pieces of lore. There you go. Good old AliExpress. There you go. Just making sure that one's in. Perfect. Awesome. All right, we're ready to start our numbers in our alpha cluster. I mean, this is a pretty quick board to do. So this stream shouldn't be too long, and this is a pretty easy going board. So, but it's like when we get to the big OmniKeys and some of the other projects we have coming up, those will be longer streams. So now we're moving on to our numbers and God damn it. Give me a minute. Didn't seat some of these, damn it. Oops. That was okay. That spacebar gap is bad. Give me a second. Yeah, that was bad. Give me a second. Alright, we're good. So, yeah, it's a good time, friends. Definitely a good time getting those going. Alright. So, yeah, so let's keep it going. Let's get this rest of this cluster right here going. So yeah, we're just doing our number row, and then we'll come back and properly seat these switches. Yeah, with this board, according to the PC, just dates on the PCB, this thing was made in April 16th, 1991, which is really cool. So that's pretty cool to kind of date this board. So this board is older than me, which is crazy. So I mean, it's not crazy, but I've actually gotten some boards that I am older than in terms of some of my vintage stuff, some of my like later stuff. So it is pretty cool. Pretty much, yeah. That's ill intent. That's exactly what he did, and that's really shitty. And he still makes them. So like Kalams, the only way to really get them is you have to get them from someone in China, or if you're on Mech Market. And here's the thing: I don't really get why someone would buy them. Like, oh, you want to knock, like you want, like say you have a Kohaku, and I'm like, just buy a Kohaku. But also, I'll say this about the Kohakus and just Singa stuff. As someone who owns Singa boards are cool. But there are way better boards for less money. Like a Kohaku is a $600 MSRP board. There are some fantastic and amazing boards that are way less than $600 that are 65s. So like I love Elaine. I've talked with Elaine. Elaine's really cool. I've had nothing but positive interactions with Elaine at Singa. But there's just better now. The hobby has gotten so good. Like I don't think it makes sense unless you want bragging rights or you want a showpiece, because the Kohaku is legitimately beautiful. Like there are better 65% options. That's just the thing. Like there's just the hobby's grown so much since the Kohaku came out. Like and the 65 is so oversaturated. It's probably the most produced form factor in like a lot of the new group buys coming to market. Yeah, I mean, I'll show you my Kohaku. I mean, I don't have the blue. I'll show you the one I have. So I have the, here's the one I have. So I have the British Racing Green Kohaku, which is the least common Kohaku I found out, at least of the standard colorways. Not getting into like custom, like commission ones, but of this just standard colorways, I found out this is the least common one. So this is a really cool board. I love it. But this is mostly a showcase piece. I'm okay with it being kind of like a safe queen and just sitting and looking pretty. Because this really is like kind of my crown jewel of my Cherry MX collection. This board isn't going anywhere. Again, I got rid of some expensive boards like the 02, like my 100 NG, my Jelly Evolve. Like those are cool, iconic boards. But I feel like this is still, especially people who get into the hobby, like this is the board that people want. Oh dude, yeah, the back weight's gorgeous. And the thing that's crazy about this board, like the CNC work, the anodizing, I've shown people this keyboard who are not into keyboards. And they say, oh my God, that's a work of art. I'm like, yeah, it's a really beautiful board. I genuinely love the Kohaku. That thing's awesome. That thing's not going anywhere. That's going to be in my collection to the, yeah. Well, again, that board was built for British Racing Green. Another set that looks really good on that Kohaku is GMK Nuclear Data. But that board was, I got GMK British Racing Green R2 for that board specifically. So, yeah, that's a really sick board. I got the artisans and everything for it. So... yeah, so we're getting it going. So, yeah, we're just going through. Okay, got those. Perfect. So, yeah, we're just doing our number row, and then we'll get on to our alphas. So, yeah, we're making some really good progress tonight. I mean, this is a pretty easy board. Again, there's a lot of work that's done off camera for these boards. Between, like, the part that probably takes the longest is the restoring and lubing the switches. That takes a metric truckload of time because you have to disassemble every freaking switch. You got to ultrasonic clean the parts, let them air dry, then you got to lube them, and that takes forever, and that's tedious. So there is a lot of work that goes, like when I do Alps stuff, that's when you see the final assembly on stream, there is a metric truckload of work that's already been done. So I really just like to do the final assembly because I really don't want to have like a multi-day stream or like a stream that's like 12 hours at a time to do this board. Yeah. So the Kohaku, I have the gray PCB. I think Elaine has Kohaku's. There's the only really two colors. You have the gray PCB and you have the red PCB. I have the red PCB as well, but I have when I got my Kohaku, a transistor broke off my PCB, and I've just been too lazy to fix it. So I got a gray PCB from Elaine, and it's been chilling ever since. So. Which is really cool. So, but yeah, Kohakus are cool. But don't pay overpriced. Like, I got mine on the aftermarket, but I got lucky and got mine at MSRP. That doesn't happen. Most people want to, like, charge, like between, like, $1,000 and $1,200 is usually what they go for, which I think is insane. It's not a $1,000 keyboard, as pretty as it is. Oh, yeah, 3D keycap. We are monetized here on Twitch. And we got our affiliate status this past weekend. And that was awesome. So, again, I'm not saying the monetization from Twitch, being an affiliate, is going to make me quit my day job or pay, like, my bills. But it's nice to get some type of monetization from what happens here on Twitch. And, again, I just want to give a huge thank you to everyone online who helps make that possible. Again, if you're just a person who tunes in for, like, 30 seconds, or you're someone who stays with us through the whole stream, or you're in our Discord server, you're subscribed on YouTube or Twitch, or you follow us on Instagram. Like, just a huge thank you to everyone. I think it's really, really cool being able to see that and get that monetization going. And like I said, I only started posting stuff online because people said, oh, you have some cool stuff. You might as well start, like, try streaming or, like, posting on Reddit or Discord. And I said, yeah, well, why not? And I never did it to get... like, I didn't want to be, like, an influencer or content creator. Like, I'm never going to claim to be one of those things. I'm just a guy who likes messing around in his man cave building metal rectangles. I just do this for fun. And, hey, if I can make some money on the side, like, yeah, cool. Yeah, the client commissions I do, or, like, sometimes when we have to buy and sell keyboards, that's awesome. But, like, literally, these keyboards I have sold over the past week, the money's going back to fund other keyboards that are just going to get more use from me. So, like, it's just all kind of a cycle with everything. So, in the keyboards I've sold, again, I know they're going to good homes. I know they're going to be more than display pieces than they were for me. Like the 02 I literally sold right before stream. Like, we're actually going to be rebuilding that on stream for the person it's going to. They have a set of switches they want me to put in it. So, I'm really excited to get those switches from that person, and then we'll build it on stream for them. And then and then that board again we'll get once that stream is done, we'll get it boxed up and get it to its new home, which will be awesome. So, but yeah, I do have another Darien Works board. I have my DN Works 925 full size. That thing's not going anywhere. I freaking love that board. Here, I'll go grab it. Yeah, let me grab it. Let me grab the O2. Let me grab the 925. Cause like DN Works boards are cool. Let me grab it. You gotta pull a couple boards out because it's pretty deep in the display. All right, just gotta pull a couple full sizes out first. Let's grab them. Thank you. Got the S100 and the 925. Here we go. Perfect. So my 925 right here. So this is my other DN Works board. Cool. So these ones are here. This is my other DN Works board. I am not selling this thing. This thing is badass. Love this thing. It's awesome. So love my 925. This board's not going anywhere. I love my full sizes. Who knows? I may have Alec Tardy make an Alps PCB for this thing one day. That'd be so sick. Have Alps in this thing. So yeah, that board ain't going anywhere. Love that board. So 3D keycap Matthias. So here's the thing with Matthias. So Matthias is fine. Matthias is cool because they actually bought the licensing and the tooling from Alps Electric when they sold off and shut down their keyboard division. So they are pretty much the legit successor to Alps. Like they're production Alps. But Matthias' switches are based on later Alps switches, which we call simplified Alps. So they kind of simplified the internal mechanism of the switches. And a lot of people agree that it's an inferior sound and feel and also inferior reliability compared to like OG or what we call complicated Alps. So Matthias are fine. They'll get you about 80 to 90% of the way there to OG Alps. But if you're gonna get into Alps, like get OG Alps. The L intents HHKBs are awesome. I freaking love HHKBs. We are going to be doing some Topra, like metal custom Topra HHKBs here in the future. I have a couple personal builds we're going to be doing, and I also have a few client builds we're going to do for Topra. So definitely going to get Topra is definitely going to be getting some love. 65s are great. I think 65. I love my 60%. Like, let me put my soldering iron to the side. Let me turn this off. Like, here's one of my favorite 60%. This is my AO3 Polaris with built with black tactile Alps. I freaking love these things. But there are certain use cases where I freaking need arrow keys. So as much as I love 60%, and I know you can layer your arrow keys, I like having dedicated arrow keys. So that's why I like 65s. Like 65s and TKLs are freaking awesome, or just full sizes because you don't lose anything. Oh, my Erdison came off. I gotta adjust the tabs on that. But yeah, like 65s are great. I love having the dedicated arrows. Like that's a big thing for me. Yeah. Blue Keys basically said it best. Like, I mean, Matthias are fine. Like, I'm not gonna, and no shade to Matthias. But like I said, you're gonna want, if you're gonna get into Alps, like get OG Alps. But also with Alps, just kind of understand the limitations. You're very limited on keycaps, so you're not gonna have all the crazy colorways. You're mostly gonna be beige and different shade, like 50 shades of beige, pretty much. Unless you get like one of the handful of DCS keycaps, and even those are like super limited. So it's very limited in keycaps. And you have to be very, especially when you want to do like a modern keyboard, you have to really know what you're looking for, and there's only a very few specific keyboards you can easily convert. Oh, dude, blank keycaps are like the manual transmission of keycaps. Like, I freaking love blank keycaps. Those things are sick. I just love how clean they look. And again, especially if you're like a touch typist, like, you really don't need the legends at the end of the day. So, yeah, there we go, friends. We got that. Perfect. Ah! Burnt myself right there. Yeah. Another thing, too, like Blue Keys brings up, like, Alps are also, like, 30 to 40-year-old switches. So, the fact that these things also, it's just like a testament to this tech that it still works all these decades later, because, like, when these things were built, they built them well, but they never expected 30, 40 years later people still be using and collecting these keyboards. Like, these keyboards were, like, used and abused. Like, most of the time when I find vintage keyboards, they are in very well-loved conditions. Oh, yeah, dude. Bull is awesome. Yeah, dude, Bull's a good guy. Here's the funny thing about Bull. I didn't realize how young Bull is. I'm in my late 20s. Bull's younger than me, which is crazy. And I'm like, dude, what am I doing with my life? But the thing with Bull, he's a really good designer and a vendor I trust. But I love Bull. He's a lovely person. He's yet to make a keyboard I like. Not that his keyboards are bad. I mean in terms of design aesthetic. Like, his keyboards are great, really good designs. But in terms of aesthetics, Bull has yet to make a keyboard I like aesthetically. Who knows? That may change one day. Bull, if you ever see that soundbite, I freaking love you. You're awesome. But you haven't made a design I like. And that's a very subjective thing. Because I know across the alley, people really do dig Bull's designs. But I just can't do his designs thus far. So, but who knows? One day that may change. Alright, almost there. Almost done seating these, so we have a few more switches. Awesome. And then we're also going to put the date mark on my keyboard spreadsheet about this board. Oh, dude, the Garen is so cool. I wouldn't do the Garen. The Garen is one board I kind of passed on, not because it was bad, it's because I have a board that already does it. So I have a Han H2H board, which I will build in Topra, and I also have a Han Pro 2K, which I have ordered on Group Buy. Both of those are HHKBs. So the H2H is based on the HHKB Pro Classic, and the Han Pro 2K is based on the HHKB Pro 2. The Garrett, I already have boards like that, and I don't need more duplicates. So, and again, like I said, I'm trying to downsize boards. But the Garrett was a really cool project. I think it's going to be really cool. And I have a lot of people. I love seeing the discussions on Discord and just online of how excited people are for that project. I think they nailed a really great design and also price point. So I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited for people to get that board in hand. It also came from a really awesome designer and design studio. So again, nothing but love for that project. But I already had boards that were too similar to it to kind of for me to justify. What's up, Eisenheim? So the Garen, I have other boards that are too similar to it for me to justify getting it, especially with me trying to downsize some of my stuff. So yeah, it's a good time. So we're getting it going. Awesome. And we have one more row of switches, and then we'll start doing some testing. If there aren't any faulty switches, we will fix those. But I did test all these switches with the multimeter, so we should be good. The Black Alps keyboard we built Black Alps OmniKey, we thought we were good, and then we had one freaking switch that had a faulty switch plate, even after I tested it beforehand. So, but that's what happens when you deal with 30 to 40-year-old switches. These Orange Alps are from 1986. The board itself is from 1991, but the Orange Alps are from an Apple extended keyboard that was from 1986. So this board is a hybrid of the 1980s and the 1990s. So alright, almost there. And then we'll just make sure these are properly seated. Awesome. Perfect. Cool. Awesome. And then we have just do our second set of pins on the last row, and then we will be done soldering, hopefully. I don't want to jinx it. But we should be pretty good. I mean, we're making really good time again. This is the smallest of the OmniKeys in terms of total keys on it. And also just size. So again, most of these OmniKeys are like freaking gigantic and massive. So, and we'll also, once we get this board fully assembled, we'll definitely do a sound test comparison to the other OmniKeys that we have built thus far. So, alright, last pin. Fantastic. Alright. Let's just wipe this puppy off and we'll get it going. Alright, let's put that away. There we go. Let's put my solder wick away for a little bit. Really don't want to have to solder again, but I think we should be good. So, just get this solder wick put away. Awesome. Cool. Alright, let's flip this over. And let's see how this puppy came out. So yeah, this particular board, the plate on this was like really, really messed up. So I'm glad this one came out really nice. So I just wanna... Good. Cool. Awesome, awesome. So we are gonna stick this in the bottom case and we'll go from there. But yeah, this bottom case is super, super dope. Awesome. Alright, cool. So we're just going to rest this in the bottom case, and then we're going to plug in our connector. Cool. There's our little connector. And then let me grab my PS2 cable. And we're going to go from there. Cool. Alright, we got our PS2 cable. Let me grab my adapter here. Alright, so we got it right there. Awesome. Let's get this puppy plugged in. Alright, cool. Those lights, I saw those indicator lights go off, so that's a nice feeling. Alright, we're going to, so we are going to get VIA open, and we're going to start testing our switches. So let's kind of see how this is going to go. So let's get our switch tester open. Perfect. We're going to reset it. And let's get going. We'll test everything. Again, I did test these switches pretty thoroughly, so I don't think we'll have issues. All right. So we'll start off with our numpad. I always start with a numpad. That's good. Oh man, I freaking love orange Alps. Arrows are good. Scroll lock is good, and scroll lock light comes on, so that's great. Print screen looks good, so that's awesome. So let's do our F row. Awesome. Let's do our modifiers next. Caps lock light comes on. That is perfect. Also, num lock light comes on. Didn't check that earlier. All right, cool. Now let's do our number row. So far, so good. These switches are great. Okay, that P, we're going to swap the P. It's just not registering the way I would like it. So we're going to desolder that letter P and swap out the switch plate. So that's, but... Yeah, letter P is being weird. So we're gonna get the desolder gun out, and we're gonna desolder that letter P, and we'll get a new switch plate installed. So let's get that going. So let's put the case to the side. Let's get our solder gun out, and we'll kind of go from there. So let's get that. Let's grab the Hako. Let's move the Kohaku out of the way. Other stuff. There we go, friends. All right. Let's get this thing going. Get the tools out here. Let's get the Hako going. Alright, let's move the mouse out of the way. Dude, salmon Alps are so good, dude. I love them. I love salmon Alps. That is another one of my favorite switches. Like, just tactile Alps in general are so freaking good. So, yeah. Anytime to have some tactile Alps is good. Alright, cool. Alright, let's flip it over. And our P is right there. So that's our letter P. That's what we need to desolder. And then also, too, I want to put this into our... I want to put one thing into... Where is it? Give me a second. I want to put the date stamp into my spreadsheet. So I have a spreadsheet that kind of chronicles my collection. And on my vintage boards, I want to put the date for this board in which it was manufactured. So this was made in April 16th, 1991. Perfect. So that's perfect. So I'm just putting the date of this one in the correct place. There we go. Cool. All right, awesome, awesome, friends. So let's let the Hako warm up a little bit. All right, so right here, it's doing one pin. There we go. I already have a clog in the Hako, so I'll let that thing heat up. Let's get this switch taken care of, and then we'll clean the Hako really quick, because only got to do one switch at this point, so... Alright, let's get this puppy out. Perfect. Let's grab my needle nose pliers. Let's grab these parts, spring and whatnot, and then pull the switch plate out. So, dude, the Hako is great. I mean, I love it, but it's also probably the most annoying and high maintenance tool that I own. The Hako's clogged. I'm like, oh, it's just another part of stream. So, I love Hako. It's great. Yeah, I love the Hako, but it's just, it is annoying that it clogs so freaking much. But I only had to do one switch tonight, so that is a plus. So let's put this switch in, and then we'll get the multimeter out, and then we'll test it. So, all right, cool. All right, let's get my multimeter out really quick. Multimeter has made life like 1,000 times easier when it comes to testing these stinking things, because these are 40-year-old switches and saves a lot of solder and also wear on the Hako, not having to desolder so much stuff. So, yeah. Alright, that switch plate sucks. So, alright. Let's pull it out. Let's put another switch plate in. That switch plate, no bueno. So, hey, that's why we have like a lot of parts on hand. So, just makes life a lot easier when you're working with these switches. But it's part of the nature of working with Alps. You got 30, 40-year-old switches. I mean, these switches here alone are 40 years old. And these switches are from 1986. So, yeah, it's crazy. And the board is just under 40 years old. This board's like 35 years old at this point. So, yeah, it's an old board. A lot of old stuff, but we're going to give this board new life. Damn it. Didn't get that down. So, yeah, this is the part. I mean, if you watch some of our older streams, some of the frustrations with some of these boards is a little bit better. Like, the multimeter is definitely saving a lot of time. Okay. Actually, I should be able to just test it here. Give me a minute. There we go. That's good. That is a good sign for our switch plate. Alright. Still binding. That spring is still binding, damn it. Let's get it out. Yeah, this is the part of Alps that isn't so glorious. So. It's the part that definitely can be frustrating, but yeah, it's just trying to get that switch back in. Okay, I'm just going to swap the spring because this spring is just getting bind. It's just binding. It's not good. What's up with this? Right, you're watching me struggle trying to put a spring in. Yeah, welcome to the internet, everybody. Yeah, you never know. I mean, the thing with vintage keyboards, I tell people is, the vast majority of these keyboards were thrown away. So the keyboards that you see online or in like people's collections, or you see like pop in like thrift shops or like Facebook Marketplace, like those are just the keyboards someone thought to save back in the day. The vast majority of these ended up in the e-waste pile, unfortunately. So give me a minute. I'm just gonna do this fully upside. God darn it. So that's like the interesting thing. And I was talking with a user on Reddit recently, and they said, because I saw one of my Alps builds that I posted, and they said like back in the like day when like Alps boards were being like phased out, like you couldn't give these boards away. No one wanted these Alps keyboards. These Alps keyboards just kind of garnered a cult following. I'd say probably the last 10 or 15 years, but for a long time, no one cared for these keyboards. So you couldn't really give these things away. So we got the switch finally inserted. But yeah, they definitely get more valuable as time has gone on, for sure. Why isn't this working? Give me a minute. Okay, I'm gonna reset this thing. So yeah, that's just the thing that's just kind of interesting. Yeah, these keyboards, again, they just, some of them will get more valuable. Most of them are still pretty common and pretty affordable, but like there are certain vintage keyboards that are like very, very valuable, especially like some of the really old IBM stuff. Like that stuff's worth some serious money. I don't know why it's not working. Yeah, that switch plate's being faulty too and weird. So it's okay. That's why we test this stuff. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I usually throw these switch plates to the side and I see if I can fix them later on. I'm just too lazy to try and fix them. That's why I have spares and parts on hand, so I can just kind of burn through parts and whatnot. So yeah. Not too worried about it. Okay. Let's put this new switch plate in. Let's try this again. So, ill intent, it's really interesting you mentioned that. So, like, if I tell people, if you see Alps content on Reddit or Discord or like Twitch or YouTube at this point, it's probably me. Especially, and I like the thinking that way. Part of why I like the vintage stuff, like I'll tell you what I do in my day job. My day job, I'm a middle school history teacher. I teach in Los Angeles, and like that's what I do. And I've always loved history, and I love like teaching it. And this is kind of an extension of what I do in my day job. And I really just like the history of these keyboards. Whether you're, burnt myself pretty good. Dang, I touched the corner and realized the hackle was still on my knuckle. Aw, man, I got myself pretty good there. Damn, that sucked. Oh, I cooked my knuckle pretty good. Nah, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I have enough burns on my freaking hands. But let me turn the hackle off. I think we're done with the hackle for right now. But yeah, I really enjoy working with this vintage stuff. And especially since I got into the vintage side of keyboards, like, it's been a fun journey. Like, my work has gotten the attention of a YouTuber named Shiro-san22. And he's like one of the go-to guys. Alright, that switch is good. He's like one of the go-to guys in the YouTube space when it comes to vintage keyboards. Like, he has a massive, massive vintage thing. So yeah, like so I have always enjoyed history, and like just thinking about history in the 80s and 90s, especially with like technology, like we live in a world that's like dominated by technology. And in the 80s and 90s, it was really kind of like when you think about people who were really pushing the boundaries of tech, like it's pretty incredible. And again, Alps had contracts. Like Alps was like head to head with Cherry MX in the market, in like their segment of the tech market. And Alps had contracts with like Apple, HP, like Mitsubishi, and a ton of other like Xerox, other giants of the tech world at the time. So it's really cool. And again, Cherry was still doing their thing. But it's really kind of cool thinking about the history, and also where were these keyboards back in their heyday? Like, were they in a government office? Were they in a school? Were they in someone's home or a business? Like, it's just kind of cool thinking where these keyboards were back in the day and where they've been since they were manufactured. So yeah, these vintage keyboards are really cool. And I'll tell you a really cool thing that happened. So here in Los Angeles, we have one of the biggest keyboard meetups on the West Coast of the United States, and it's called Keyb Life. And if you're in like the West Coast, I recommend you go to it. It is absolutely incredible. It's every September, and it's a day, and you have like 1,200 people who show up from across the region and even different parts of the world. And like literally like probably 1,000 plus keyboards are there. It's amazing. Like, you're talking budget stuff, rare stuff, high-end stuff, Norbauer stuff, everything in between. And it's amazing. And I brought out my Alps stuff, and I had a couple tables just full of my Alps builds. And I brought some of my vintage Macintosh Alps keyboards. And it was really cool seeing people come to the table, and everyone liked the modern stuff. And people touched and typed on the Apple boards. It was really cool seeing people who are like Gen Xers or people who grew up in the 80s and the 90s and maybe remember using those keyboards or those computers getting nostalgic. I don't know how to describe it. You kind of had to see the reaction on their faces. But it was so cool seeing these people who are a little older than me just get so nostalgic typing on an old Apple keyboard. It was awesome, and I loved it. And again, that really, really kind of made it. Yeah, so what's really cool about some of these keyboards will sometimes come with labels, or what was a pretty common practice, they would take like a soldering iron and they would etch into the top like where it came from. So like I have a vintage keyboard that's in my restoration queue. It's etched in with the soldering. It says University of California, San Diego. It says UCSD, and it has like a serial number, and that's probably how the tech department tracked that keyboard on the university. So some keyboards you can actually trace back to where they came from, depending on if they like put marking, they etched like an identification into like the top case, or they have like identification stickers. So that's kind of cool, being able to trace back where some of these keyboards were, where they came from. So before we get to this, I want to put the PCB to the side. I want to clean the hack out. So, because this thing is a pain in the ass, and I don't want to deal with cleaning this thing out later. Because we do have to harvest some boards later on, and I just want to get this thing cleaned out really quick. And yep, that's a nice clog. So let's. Yeah. Yeah, these hackos, if you get into soldering and desoldering, this is a great tool. You want some kind of desoldering tool. Because trust me, it makes like 1,000 times easier. Whether you go like a hand pump or you go with this very expensive solution. Yeah, like these things are like $300, but God, they're so freaking, yeah. Yeah. All right. It's really cool. All right, friends. Let's just get that going. There we go. Good enough for government work. That's good enough. I'll probably have to clean clogs out of this thing later in the week next time we use this damn tool. All right, let's just clean out the nozzle really quick, and then we'll be good to put this tool away. So let's see. All right, we're good. All right, we're gonna put the hack away. Let's make a swap here really quick. Let's grab a PCB, put that back, and then we put the hacko away. And we just put the hacko tools back in its box, and then we'll be on our way. Cool. Alright, let's take that to the side. Let's solder in this last switch, and then we should be good to go. Just move on to soldering in our, lubing our stabs. Did I? Oh, I did lube. I did solder. We're good. Alright, let me turn this off. Alright, let's get the bottom case, and let's do a quick test, and then I think we'll be good to go. There we go. All right, let's plug that in. Cool. All right, let's unplug that. Let's get these going. Where's that cable? There we go. Awesome. All right, cool. Let's just test that letter P. That was kind of my switch that wasn't registering just right. All right, we're good. All right, good enough. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to unplug this connector. And we're going to pull this out, and we're going to start installing our stabilizers. So that is a good thing. So I like to install the stabs and the keycaps outside of the case just to make my life a little bit easier. And we're not putting flex on the plate in the PCB. So, alright, I gotta go pull the bag out of my closet really quick, so let me find it. Alright, where the hell? Oh, there. Sweet. Right on top. Alright, got our keycaps, got our stabs, so let's get this puppy going. Alright, we're also get our 205G0 out. So we'll use 205G0. Also get our bigger stabilized keycaps. And we'll kind of go from there. Yeah, these keycaps are also like immaculate. There's not much yellowing on them, which is really nice. So that is really good. And we have a full 8 keycaps that we're stabilizing today. Normally there's only 6. But yeah, we got 4, 5, 6. We got a couple more we got to find. Enter 0, 2 enters, backspace. We need our big shift. Okay. There's our plus. We just need our. There it is. Cool. All right, we got our keycaps there. So we're going to start off with our spacebar. Because the spacebar is the keycap that is the biggest pain in the ass when it comes to Alps keyboards. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to do a little bit of compression right here. Get our 205G0 out, and we're just gonna get going. So there are these stabilizer rod posts here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lube those stabilize. There's insert posts on the bottom of the key spacebar. So we're just gonna add a light coat of lube there, and that's just gonna make that stabilizer post a little bit smoother when we push the keycap down. So. Cool. Got that one, and then we'll get our wire. And we'll lube that puppy up. So, yeah. Cool. Alright, got our wire lubed up. Get our posts. Insert that wire in these little clips. And then we're going to get going. Alright. Cool. There's our spacebar. So that is awesome. We're going to do our shift, left shift now. Right, we're going to swap some under. Give me a minute. I'm going to go to some different stab parts here. Give me a second, because I don't like the ones that come with them. Also, this is like my graveyard of stab parts, because I've looped, well, I'm going to say looped. I've harvested a lot of boards, so I have a lot of stab. I have a lot of Alps parts on hand. So, yeah, if you ever need parts, let me know. I got you. I got y'all. So we're just making sure. So let's do this one first. Let's put our wire in here. There we go. Awesome. Let's get this one lubed up. Cool. Cool. There's that shift. Let's move over to our backspace. So let's get our backspace. Let's get some stab parts in here. Awesome, awesome. So get that wire lubed up. Cool. Just see that. Cool. Backspace is on there. Looking good. All right, let's move on to our enter. Now, this is one thing that makes this board a special among the OmniKeys. This is the only OmniKey that has an ANSI enter. So pretty much all the other OmniKeys have a big ass enter. So this is what makes this board really special. And one kind of unfortunate thing that happens is some people harvest these boards just for the keycaps. They'll just remove the keycaps and throw the board away. So that's part of why this board is so rare, is people really like the keycaps for modern Alps conversions. So the keycaps are very sought after because, again, this is the only ANSI AT101 OmniKey. All the other OmniKeys are going to be coming with, again, a big ass enter. So that's part of what makes this board very special. that key right there. So, as you can see, most of them are not standard with that backslash right there. So, oh my god, those orange Alps are freaking awesome. I love them. All right, let's do our big key. Our left shift. Sorry, right shift. Got a full right shift on here. There's another thing about these OmniKeys. They have a split right shift. So since most of them have big ass enters and your backslash is taken away, they split the right shift and they'll put your backslash key right there. So you have a split right shift on most OmniKeys. So that's part of why people really like these boards, is because they have a pretty standard layout minus having Windows keys. All right. Cool. We're getting there. Getting there. We just gotta do our number pad steps and we're pretty good. That one's good. Yeah, cool. And then let's get these ones. So let's get these clips under the stabilizers. And I think we're almost there, friends. So cool. Let me put the rest of these stab parts away. Awesome. That make. We're getting there, friends. We are getting there. So, all right, cool. Let's move on and get this portion done. Just moving on to our numpad. So we'll do our 0 right here. 2 0. Yeah, it's going good. All right, next one is we're gonna do our plus first. So another thing, most OmniKeys have a split plus button too. So we'll be able to compare this to some of the other OmniKeys. We'll kind of see the differences in the layout. Okay, so we're gonna do our plus. Cool, that one's good. Just gotta do our enter, and then we'll be pretty much ready for final assembly on keycaps. Cool. All right. Almost there. Cool. All right, those are done. Give me a second. Just Gonna put some tools away that we're not really using now. We're past at a good point in the build. So let me just put some stuff away. Done with that. And yeah, we're good. Leave that out. Cool. Alright, friends, we got our stabilized keycaps on here, so that's really nice. So yeah, we got a little bit of a messy workspace, but alright, good to start putting in our keycaps, everybody. So let's get them going. We'll just start doing our final assembly here. All right, this is one I've been really excited for. So I cannot wait. Here, escape. Yeah, this is one I have been eagerly awaiting. So, good old numlock right there. Oh, those orange Alps sound so freaking good. I usually like doing the gray keys first. Oh man, that looks great. All right, cool. So, start putting them in. There's that pesky P key. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. So yeah, we are getting close, everybody. Yeah, this one is pretty much no yellowing on it, so this is going to look really good when we put that top case on. And the plate came out really nice. As y'all can see, that plate was rusted and pitted to all hell. So this board restored very nicely. Sure, got our numpad portion here. Yeah, we are looking really good, folks. Oh, put that key in the wrong spot. That was one over too far. There we go. Yeah, this is looking awesome. I am... Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just really excited for this board. This is like one of the OmniKeys I've been genuinely excited for. So to be able to finally get this one together and also compare it to the other OmniKeys we got, it's gonna be awesome. Alright. Looking good. Yeah, this is like super clean. Press F to pay respects, boys. There we go. Alright. Numpad's almost there, which is pretty good. Thanks, Blue Keys. F in the chat. Yeah, we're getting close, everybody. Once we get this, then we'll get it mounted in the chassis, and we'll put the bottom mount bolts on, and then we'll screw the chassis in. So, yeah, this one's really clean. No yellowing on it at all. Oh, Orange Alps are so good. Alright. Let's get that bottom case here. And we'll do our final mounting and assembly. Get any credit, any last minute residue in here. Let's get this in. Yep. Foam pad wanted to go with it. It's not good. There we go. Alright. Remove this out of the way. Get this puppy. And let's get our screws. Alright, let's do our bottom mount here. Yeah, one thing with OmniKeys, they use these steel switch plates, and most of them are bottom mounted. There are a couple that are top mounted. My gold badge OmniKey and my OmniKey 101N. So this board right here, this OmniKey is top mounted as well as that one right there. But all the other ones are pretty much bottom mounted like this. So we are good. So Alps switches, they are going to be old school clack. So these are not, they're going to be a very high pitched clack, like old school keyboards. That's what they are. You're not going to get like your super deep, thocky, or like foamy. Again, it's going to be old school clack on these boards. And that's just a thing with Alps. They're kind of their own thing. And again, very different from kind of your modern keyboard landscape that's very much dominated by Cherry MX, which that's not a bad thing. Again, these are just kind of their own thing within the hobby. So let's put that top case on, and you can see this beauty come together. Look at that. Look how clean that is. All right, let's get these let's get this top case mounted, and then we can kind of go from there and start doing some sound tests and kind of compare this to our other ones. So I do. Yep. So let's get this top case mounted. Yeah. Another thing too with Alps too, they're a very loud switch. They're also very resonant, and they can also be very scratchy. So those things don't appeal to you. Alps probably won't be for you. That's the thing with Alps too. This is a niche within a niche, and Alps just kind of have a cult following, like within the keyboard hobby. So we're a niche within a niche. And we're a very small community of people who are just enthusiasts and like these old switches. But yeah, they're awesome. Like, you can get a hold of them. This board also too is from 1991. It was made on April 16th, 1991. One thing that's cool about a lot of these old boards, many of them have date stamps that can tell you exactly when they were made. So that is really, really cool. Put that thing away. Oh, those to the side. Put that to the side. And let's put my multimeter away. And yeah, we are good. Let's show this puppy off. So here we go, friends. Here is our Northgate OmniKey 101 with Orange Alps. So this is a classic looking keyboard, pretty much no yellowing on the keycaps or the top case. That is really cool. Oh, dude, this thing is freaking awesome. I think this one came out so nice. We also have our back identification badge on here. So it identifies the model number, so OmniKey 101. So that's really cool. And considering how old this board is, this is a 35-year-old keyboard. It looks brand new. So let's plug it in. Let's do one last bit of testing, and then we'll do some sound tests, and then we'll also compare it to the other OmniKeys that we have built. So, which is super sick. So let's plug this in. Let me do a quickly. Yeah. Oh, I do want to see how this compares to the creams and also the pine blacks. So let's just want to do a test of everything. Okay, numlock, light is good. Scroll lock light comes on. Print screen comes on. Caps lock is good. Caps lock light comes on, so that's awesome. Cool. I think we are good. So, yeah, that is awesome. So let's kind of just throw that adapter to the side, and we'll kind of showcase this board. So I'll kind of compare it to our Blue Alps board. So this is my personal favorite of the OmniKeys. This is called the OmniKey Gold Badge. So it's kind of, it gets its name from that badge right there. It is golden. This is the earliest of the OmniKeys. This one is pretty much all original. It has its original switches, which are Blue Alps, which are the best Alps switch in my personal opinion. So let's get this going. So here are the orange Alps. So pretty interesting in terms of how their sound and feel. So this one has an the gold badge has its own attached cable, so gotta be careful how I move that one. But let's compare this to another one of the Alps boards. So this is my OmniKey Ultra T. I'm sorry, OmniKey Ultra. This is the big boy of the OmniKeys. So this is the biggest and kind of was the top line model. I have this one built kind of crazy. This one's built with Amber Alps. There's about $600 to $700 worth of switches in this keyboard. So here are Amber Alps. They have a little bit more of a punchy sound compared to the Blue Alps. Here's the Orange Alps. Yeah, that's really cool. So let's move the OmniKey Ultra. We'll grab the Ultra T and a couple of the other OmniKeys. So Alright, here's OmniKey 102 that has black tactile Alps. We got all the OmniKeys here now. We got black tactiles. So there's black tactile Alps. So here we go. Black tactile Alps right here. So you can see the kind of the size difference too. Again, this one has its kind of own unique layout. XT column, random escape key up there. But yeah, that one's cool. Here's orange Alps, black Alps. So there's that one. We'll grab the OmniKey Plus. So OmniKey Plus, these are green linear Alps, which are really cool. So green linears, orange tactiles. Really cool. And then last one are going to be the creams, which are so good. We got our cream Alps right here. Look at that. So yeah, I think these are really cool. But yeah, we have OmniKeys 4 days. So I'll kind of show you all the OmniKeys we got. So there's 10 of them. I have 7 of them. So we have the OmniKey Ultra Gold Badge. So we'll put that one. We'll kind of go them off to the side. So we got the Gold Badge. We have the OmniKey Plus, everybody. Look at that. We have the OmniKey Ultra. We have the OmniKey 101. We have the OmniKey Plus. I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, I think I gotta grab it. We got the OmniKey Ultra. Oh, don't worry, folks. We haven't even stopped yet. Here we go. And then we have the OmniKey 101N, which needs to be built. We'll probably be building that sometime next week, everybody. So, yeah, that's just pretty cool kind of seeing that. So, yeah, look at that, folks. So, really, really cool stuff. But yeah, those are OmniKeys, everybody. My favorite family of vintage keyboards. So we'll kind of unstack them and we'll get back to the OmniKey 101. So let me just move them all out of the way really quick. And then we'll just kind of do some final thoughts on this particular vintage board, folks. So move these ones. But yeah, one thing about the OmniKeys, they are massive. They are big, big boy keyboards. Here is the 101, and one thing I do want to compare it to is some modern full sizes as well. So here's like my DN Works 925. So they're pretty much on par in terms of width. Where the OmniKeys get a little bit bigger, there's a lot more space between the F-row, and they have this little forehead up here because this is like a pen rail. So whereas like modern full sizes like the 925 don't have that. So I mean, here's another modern full size that I got. This is my S100, kind of same thing. So that kind of gives you comparison to like a modern full-size keyboard. But this keyboard is really cool. This is the most sought after because it's the most familiar. This would be right at home in probably most modern office settings or just modern computer settings because of the layout and just kind of how it looks. So really good board. I think this is awesome. So it has a really cool profile too on the side. So really, really nice. Really, really nice board. So I freaking love this thing. So yeah, this is a fantastic board, and I am really, really thankful to have this board, and it's in immaculate condition. So, all right, everybody, I think we're gonna end it there. Kind of be on the lookout for the VOD of this stream later this evening. And we'll probably be streaming a couple times next week, folks. Hope everyone has a great, great weekend, a great rest of your evening, everybody. Have a great time, folks.